So, the Borderlands 4 story review. This is gonna be a hard one, because needless to say, the story is very bad. It is dull, it is boring, it is inconsistent, and at this point, after seeing everything it has to offer, I would not be surprised if in a year or two we would have leaks from ex-Borderlands 4 developers saying that they remade the story at least 5 times over because it feels like just a jumbled mess. The overarching plot is kind of there, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really exist. Borderlands 4, the Timekeeper, is easily one of the worst villains of all time. There is no impact, there is no scale, there is absolutely nothing. From Borderlands, there are roughly 2 good characters and 1 character that displays amazing potential, like literally better than Handsome Jack, but literally for a 30-second cutscene and then dialogue start and everything just falls apart so fast. It's insane. It's almost like the people who made that cutscene I'm talking about, and that is, your friend who resurrects at the end. It's almost like those people who made the cutscene are different people who made everything else about it. It's insanity. Needless to say, this is going to be heavy spoilers. I'm going to spoil the whole story and everything I feel to talk about this. And, well, I am not going to talk about characters too in depth because I'm going to make a completely different video. This one is going to be the whole story and how it makes almost zero sense and how the narrative is completely stupid. And the other one is going to be characters, because the characters going a little bit in depth on them is actually kind of interesting, so that's probably for tomorrow. But for now, the whole story of Borderlands 4 and how absolutely atrociously slop it is. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not the worst thing in the world. I would say that the Borderlands 4 story is 4.5 out of 10. And I really don't like to use this term. I hate when other people use it, and I try to avoid it as much as possible. But the Borderlands 4 story can be summarized as in, it's almost there, a little bit different, and something good would have happened. And I hate using these types of sentences because they're cheap. Diablo 4 could have been good if Blizzard just made a lot of things different. But Borderlands 4 truly lands there. The story could have been so much better, not necessarily good, but at least somewhat enjoyable if they just did a couple of very small things differently. So let's talk about those small things differently, I should say. The first thing about Borderlands 4 that I noticed after knowing the full story is the fact that the more I talk about these things, the more eloquent, the more pristine my opinions on these things get. And with Borderlands 4, I noticed that there is a fundamental thing that a lot of stories do, and I absolutely hate it. And Borderlands 4 is super guilty of this one thing. It is the fact that in Borderlands 4, you are the Vault Hunter, and you don't matter to the story. You are the thing that moves things along, but you are never the reason why they happened. You're always just doing something that someone else tells you to in the stupidest and the smartest in every way. You as a character don't really matter. Sure, you're at the one who pulls the trigger at the end, but it doesn't matter because it's always someone else telling you that you need to pull that trigger. And that I actually hate these types of stories. Now, granted, this is purely my own thing that I dislike, but I'm assuming a lot of you are going to be like that. That you also dislike that form of storytelling, where you're just a thing that exists and you just do the full bidding of everyone else. You have your goal, but that goal is meaningless. And that's what the Borderlands story feels overall. You're just constantly doing the bidding of someone else. In the other Borderlands games, even in Borderlands 3, it didn't really feel like that. It felt like you at least have some agency. It makes sense why some things are happening and you're doing something. But Borderlands 4 is just you doing one person, helping another person, and then you're moving. Borderlands 4 is supposed to be very simple narratively. But it's somehow not. Let me actually draw this for you. So, this is you, the Vault Hunter. And you think that the Vault Hunter's job, as in every other Borderland game, is find the vault. That's right. Very simple, very straightforward. But in Borderlands 4, this is a lie. You are not a Vault Hunter. And actually, the story fights itself on this. Because at the start, you're not the Vault Hunter, and at the end, they're like, remember, you're a Vault Hunter? It kind of goes like that. But in reality, you're not a Vault Hunter. Forget about it. You are a freedom fighter. That's right. In Borderlands 4, you're not a Vault Hunter. You're a freedom hunter. Your goal is not the vault. Fuck the vault. Your goal is to go to this community, help it, go to this community, help it, go to this community, help it, and then beat the final bad here that takes you in the vault by accident, and then somehow magically claim the vault, and at the end someone tells, remember you're a vault hunter. That's your personal story. It is abysmal. It makes no sense. It is pure ass. There's no other way to describe your personal story. You're not a Vault Hunter, you're a freedom fighter. And a freedom fighter in absolutely all of the worst ways. So, the story overall makes absolutely no sense. I already said the Timekeeper is easily one of the worst villains of absolutely all time. I'm not even gonna lie. Easily one of the worst villains of all time. And the problem with the Timekeeper is very simple. He has absolutely no agency. Right? He has no agency, no threat, no nothing, no anything. And it doesn't even feel the game from the trailer. When you watch the trailer, you're seeing, that Ripper woman fight against him, but none of that happens. This is why I'm convinced that the story got rewritten like 5 times. Because it seems disjointed at absolutely every point. In fact, the Ripper woman that's a baddie is one of 3 other main baddies that you're supposed to defeat, and I'm pretty sure because of that, her dialogues make no sense, her context makes no sense, why they actually concentrated on her in the early trailers also makes no sense. That's why I'm pretty sure after the trailers came out that they probably hastily rewrote a lot of things. Because she literally resurrects like almost 3 times in the story, which is hilariously stupid. So obviously she was supposed to have a bigger role than she actually did. So the main problem happens with everything that happens in the story in the sense that your opponent is supposed to be the Timekeeper, and the Timekeeper makes absolutely no narrative sense. The Timekeeper is effectively the overarching super bad guy. Like, this is the Timekeeper. And he has minions. He has the woman, a fat guy who's really stupid, and Vile Lictor, whose story probably was at least cut by 80%, because I could tell that they're supposed to do a lot of things there, but, well, they didn't. And the Timekeeper, narratively, makes absolutely no sense. So, first of all, let's talk about the place that you are. Narratively, you're on a planet that has been in the control of the Timekeeper for literally 1,000 years minimum. And in that time, the guy who has the power of mind control has effectively not done nothing to control the people, and worst of all, it's not like he's reluctantly using his power. His whole motivation is ordered. This is like his grand plan, and the guy with the ability to dominate the minds of people, and has a grand plan of order and keeping everything nice and tidy, has not taken control of the power, even though the planet is split, and it absolutely makes no sense that he hasn't done it. There are no limitations to his power. The end of the game actually shows that he has literally no limitations to how powerful he is. But yet, the narrative of the game is something like this. You get caught by the timekeeper, and by the way, the introduction for every character at the start of the game is like the most fucking cringy shit ever. It is abysmal. If you have seen it, you know how bad it is. The first part of the game is horrible. The ending, roughly 20% in the middle of the ending, is actually pretty likable. Zane is a good character after they stop trying that hard, because with every character you encounter, they are trying so desperately hard to make you like them, and it shows, and it's really bad. But the moment that they stop trying that hard, you actually kind of like characters like Zane. What's the black woman? Bailey? What, I don't remember her name, but there is one black aristocratic woman that leads a covenant, and she is by far the best character because she only has a pretty reasonably bad introduction, but after that she's really likable. She's really cool, and that's pretty much it. Oh, by the way, the wokeness. I should probably talk about the wokeness in the game. This story has a lot of woke elements. I mean, we're talking about the full fucking DEI spectrum. But it's not so egregiously in your face. You need to be aware that this is done because of pure DEI to know that it's actually woke. Otherwise, the average person who does not know that much about woke is gonna not notice a lot of things. So you're probably pretty safe. But the moment you know that these things are done exclusively because of DEI and ESG, you know that there's a lot of things in the game that exist because of it. Relationships, characters, things that are being shown, interactions. Like you literally have the full fucking thing. The second character that you meet is Rush, and he is a stereotype of a guy who lifts and has literally no brains and is actually a coward. And the woman, his woman helper, is actually the real boss of everything, if we're being completely real. It's that level of DEI and wokeness. But it's done in kind of minute ways, so if you're an average person, you probably will not notice it, which is, I guess, a good thing in general. But overall, it is woke. It is woke. But it's not egregiously in your face woke most of the time, at least. So that's a positive, I guess. That is definitely a positive. Anyway, back to the narrative. Narratively, you have this guy who has the ability to control the minds of people. He has done dick all nothing with it. He, in fact, lost a person who seemingly he can probably mind control for some reason or chose not to. There's a bunch of people that all have zero motivation that makes absolutely no sense. Some of them are just unlikable, some of them are more likable. In fact, the two best characters, well, from the three best characters, two are women. And one is Zane. But I don't remember the names of the women characters, sorry. But they are really good. They are actually the two best characters by far. And then everything else is really annoying, especially the woman characters. Oh, but, that's just a side tangent, I guess. More about that in the next video about the characters themselves. I feel that's going to be better. But anyway, the story is that you need to kill the first of the timekeeper's big vanguard guy, then the second, then the third, because you need to get their spikes, control chips that control their minds. And the timekeeper literally does not care that you're taking out his lieutenants one by one. Narratively makes no sense. The guy's supposed to be omnipotent, and in fact, by the way, one of his minions is actively trying to kill him to an extent, and it's blatantly obvious, and the timekeeper's like, I don't care. I'm not even. You kill his minions, he says nothing. These minions have special spikes that grant access into his big base. Without them, you can't get in. Like, how does it make narratively any sense that you need to get these things out of their spines to access his base? It doesn't make sense. Can't he just, decline access to them because he's the big boss and they're his underlings? What? I don't know. I don't know. It just works like that. I don't know why it works like that, but it does. Again, narratively, nothing makes fucking sense. Narratively, it's just four disjointed stories, and that's pretty much it. By the way, the evil Ripper woman who ripped out her own spike, who has now an army of people who have ripped out their own spikes and they have become crazy because reasons. She still has the spike, but the Timekeeper is not controlling her, even though she's actively very much a menace in his side. Yes, it makes no fucking sense at all. Again, nothing makes too much sense. You defeat these people one by one. Narratively, they make absolutely no sense. The first encounter is gonna be probably a big fat guy. And he's just a simp for the Timekeeper. Literally a simp for the Timekeeper, by the way. I'm talking about the most literal simp that you can find. And he's just big, fat, and stupid. That's his defining feature. You're just supposed to kill him. There's no overall narrative. There's no overall anything about this. It's just you need to kill him because he has a massive biological weapon that he can't use because he's too stupid. That's it. That's the first boss. This is effectively one of the acts of the game. Completely null and void. Second is a guy named Vile Lictor. Vile Lictor is a part of the people who live in the mountain who are not spiked by the Timekeeper because I don't even fucking know why. They just somehow magically avoided it, even though it makes no sense, because they're scared of him or something like that. And I have to say, out of all the characters, Vile Lictor definitely seems the one with at least some potential, because that guy just opens Siren Rifts and then just stabs people through them. That is pretty menacing. That is pretty very much menacing. So, but that's all he does, sadly. Other than that, it's very boring. He's not even there for the fight. You're just supposed to thwart him and then kill him. And once again, another guy is killed. It is very obvious with the Vile Lictor that they cut probably his whole story arc out, because he most likely was one of the people from the mountain with the people who are fighting him mainly, because every boss has a group of people associated with them that are fighting exclusively that boss. And by the way, all the overall narrative also makes very no sense at this point. Borderlands 1, 2, 3, and all of them effectively did this, but it's now so much time has passed that Borderlands has no excuse for not actually implementing and showing it. This could be critique for any Borderlands game, but it is the fact that these are the whole of the Timekeeper's forces. And they act completely separate. There is absolutely... Narratively, the Timekeeper makes absolutely no sense. If you remove the Timekeeper and just put a Guardian in front of the vault, which, spoiler, the Timekeeper is, and these are just three different people with three different goals that have some kind of piece of a puzzle that you need to enter the vault, the story just suddenly makes so much more sense. Because there is nothing that is actually making these people a part of the Timekeeper forces except some minor aesthetics and them saying that they are. Otherwise, it feels hollow. It feels empty. The Timekeeper is not a real villain, and his lieutenants are completely separate entities. There is never a single line of dialogue, in fact, that you even defeat any one of them, which makes no sense. And they are all doing their own thing. One is simping for the Timekeeper, the other one is actively planning to destroy the world the Timekeeper lives on, and the third one betrayed him, pulled out her spike, and is now raising a Ripper rebellion against him. And the guy can take over humans again. I'm just gonna say, the guy can take over your mind and make you commit Minecraft, and these problems still magically arise. The fact that the Timekeeper's powers have nothing to do with fucking time, by the way, but with controlling the minds of everyone to what seems, by the way, like an omnipotent level, except some people can break free, of course, which is you, by the way. It makes no sense. It just completely narratively makes absolutely no sense. The story would be so much better if the Timekeeper was just a giant walled guardian. I have a feeling that he was just a giant walled guardian. And then they retconned it that he's the main baddie. But it doesn't feel like it. He completely feels absolutely just like a throwaway idea. The Timekeeper's part, by the way, if we split this thing in 4 acts, 1 for each boss, is the smallest. He is the fastest to kill boss. He's just straightforward. Get the 3 keys from the 3 lieutenants, open up his citadel, and bam, in 5 minutes you're literally dead. It's insane. And the Ripper woman, the Ripper Queen, in fact, who was very prominent in the trailers, she gets a lot more stuff. You literally go to the moon because she wants to go to the moon and shoots rockets to the moon, and stuff happens there. She has roughly, I don't know, 3 to 4 times more screen time and dialogue and everything than any other villain in the series, which makes absolutely no sense. But you know, here we are anyway. So again, this game has definitely been retconned to death. The story has definitely been completely gutted multiple times, I feel, at this point. And again, none of this makes sense. The Timekeeper doesn't make sense. The lieutenants don't make any sense. The inaction doesn't make any sense. And against all of this is the Firehawks or the Rebellion or whatever you want to call it. Let's call it Joffrey's. No, let's not call it that. In any case, it's the Rebellion. And all of them act like complete distinctive entities. At no point do you feel that you are actually amassing this group of people. Because, again, this is the overall point that I actually started rambling off like 5 minutes ago. It's the fact that you assemble all of these groups of people, you defeat all of these baddies, and it's inconsequential. None of them help you at the end. They're just voices in your head at the best of times, and the enemies are completely alone. Again, overall, the story just doesn't make any sense. There's overall narratives. For example, one of the people that betrays the Timekeeper is a scientist woman, second best character in the game, but she starts off pretty weak. You can easily tell that they wanted to give her a storyline because the whole thing is so straightforward. There is no surprise. At every point, you're just doing something because that's it. Let me give you the whole story. Kill first boss, kill second boss, elevator to space, kill third boss, go to space because reason? I actually don't even remember why we need to go to space. Oh, to save Lilith, right. We go to space to save Lilith. Completely inconsequential, by the way. The story ends with a cliffhanger. Because of course it does. Go to space, save Lilith, go kill the Timekeeper. That's the whole story. All of these things feel absolutely separate. None of this feels like it has absolutely any threat attached to them. There is one moment when I was like, holy shit, this character is awesome. And then they ruined it. The guy that saves you at the start from the Timekeeper, I don't remember his name. Aloy, Amon, something. He saves you, and then the Timekeeper takes control of your mind, and his mind, and he kills him. Because, by the way, that guy's robot, E5 or whatever it's called, that robot has the ability to negate a Timekeeper's mind control. Yes! And it's never mentioned, it's never explained. It seems like that's just a completely normal droid that you can make literally anywhere. Like it's fucking mass-produced almost. It makes no sense. You have this technology to completely counteract the Timekeeper's big power, the brain control. Well, I guess it makes sense that no one wants to counteract his brain control considering he doesn't use it properly. There are just some moments where he slightly uses it, but it doesn't make sense why he doesn't use it more. And then because you get control of the robot, it somehow messes up with the spike in your neck and you cannot be controlled. And the guy gets controlled and he, Minecrafts himself in the chest. Then at one point he comes back. Turns out the siren that you think you are following is not Lilith that you think, which is actually a pretty good twist, I'm not gonna lie. Admittedly, the bad part is you're expecting a twist because nothing but a twist is left there. At the start, you think Amara is gonna betray you because again, she probably has been retconned 15 times. Because she helped the timekeeper, but she regrets it. Rush says, "Oh, we have some. I'm gonna do some digging because she seems unclean." And guess what? Yeah, she made the spikes that are enslaving people for the timekeeper, but she regrets it. So we're cool, and don't worry about it, okay? And well, the guy who Minecrafted himself, it turns out to be the Siren because Vile Lichter did some experiments on him. The fact that Vile Lichter, by the way, is doing experiments on people, nowhere explained, nowhere even mentioned. Just suddenly out of nowhere, he has experiments. You never see them, you never hear about them. It's just your friend coming out from the grave. And when he comes out, when he finally actually talks to you, I'm like, holy shit, this is good. I was serious, like, oh my god, this is good. This is good. Is Borderlands 4 actually gonna turn good now? Because that cutscene is so good. Okay, that cutscene is really good when he enters. It's like, you can't see his face, so don't know who he is, but I'm like, oh wait, that knife! It's him! It's the dude! He's alive! And then he takes off and he's like slightly corrupted, he's slightly insane. And you can tell, he has this menacing aura around him. You know that this guy now means business. You know that this guy is insane. You know that he is powerful. He's menacing and you can feel it. Absolutely great cinematic. And he shows his power. He tells you, we were friends, but if you do this, bad things are gonna happen. And then he Kamehameha blasts your ass. Man, did he seem like a great character at that point. I'm serious, he really did. He really did. But after he slowly starts talking to you through the radio or whatever the fuck earpiece or whatever you have in Borderlands, and he's like, I'm crazy, and character completely destroyed in an instant. In that cutscene when he was revealed, he was so menacing, so good. The acting, the voice acting, everything was superb. That could have been a great character, a great villain. But sadly, he wasn't. He was just throwaway trash. Because after that, everything around him just went down. He was like, I'm crazy, you know that, right? I'm dangerous, I will hurt you. That was his character after that. It was horrible. That's not one of, by the way, the three good characters. The three good characters have more good than them. He's like three and a half of a half didn't pan out. But man, that was such a wasted potential because, man, that cutscene is really solid and good. That cutscene made me believe for a while that Borderlands 4 could be great. But again, sadly, they ruined it. And all of this seems extremely jumbled, probably, because it is. You have that bad guy, this bad guy, what's the goals of this bad guy? Then you have hints that the timekeeper is actually not a bad guy, but it feels like the timekeeper was like 15 different stories crammed into one and it doesn't make any sense. It just feels like overall it makes absolutely zero sense. Again, there's no way Borderlands 4 was not story-wise a retcon at least 5 times. It's just visible. There's just too many things that don't make sense. Amara being evil but not being evil. People suspect her, but then they don't. Her story, the timekeeper, what he does, the overall, big bad guy, but doesn't actually do anything. His plan for order, which makes... By the way, his whole shtick is like, we need order. And at no point you actually understand why he needs order. Because at one point you're like, oh, because of the vault, there's something bad in the vault, but there's fucking nothing in the vault. By the way, literally, there's nothing in the vault. He's the vault guardian, which I guess is slightly a twist, but you kind of understand it before you fight him in the end because of some of his dialogue. But all in all, it's like, again, the Timekeeper is a completely inconsequential character that makes literally no sense in any form. So what? Fucking who cares, right? So any twist with him doesn't matter. He does kill Amara, which is, I didn't like that. I liked Amara. Again, all the characters have bad introductions, but from the last 50% of the story, roughly 20% of that story is not even that bad dialogue-wise. It still doesn't make a lot of sense what you're doing because you're just like some kind of errand boy in the dumbest way possible. But roughly 20% of that dialogue is actually pretty decent when they stop trying. Borderlands 4 developers, they were not lying when they said that they do not want to be Borderlands 3 and they're trying to be different. I can feel that wasn't a lie. I can feel that they tried. But the reality of Borderlands 4 is they tried to not make Borderlands 3, but they made Borderlands 3 again. That's all that can be honestly said about it. And it's worse because the whole overall story just doesn't make a lot of sense. Some of you are probably thinking, I'm not making any sense. And granted, explaining the story like this is kind of hard. But the reality is, I'm not missing any key details. I got the character motivations perfect. Oh, wait. The Ripper Queen, her future was to kill the Timekeeper because bad, but then she magically started being prophetic and she wanted to fly away on the moon that broke onto their world and something like that. It makes no sense. Again, they had to retcon this story so many times because every character, except the Timekeeper simp, he seems like that was his goal. He just wants to be Timekeeper's best simp. Too bad he's fucking stupid. Vile Lictor had his storyline completely cut because he was most likely supposed to be a friend from the mountain. Maybe his backstory was. By the way, the way that you can make this story so much better is, for example, Vile Lictor. If his storyline, it doesn't even matter. You just need to mention it a little bit. Like, give him some backstory. Like, the people from the mountain tell you, oh, Vile Lictor was once one of us. And because he was once one of us, the Timekeeper has not bolted us because even though Vile Lictor has changed and his goals are now evil, he still is protecting us from that, but he is evil at the end because he was born with a frail body, because you can see that Vile Lictor has been trying to like do a lot of crazy modifications to himself. Bionicle and, Siren-esque monster-ish. And if they just told you that he used to be one of us, he was born very frail, and his biggest wish was the fact that he could be strong and powerful and not tied down by his weak, decrepit body. And then he saw an opportunity with the Timekeeper to actually change his fate, and he took it. And that's why he's on the side of the Timekeepers, because he was one of the mountain people. The mountain people did not get spiked, because yes, the mountain people just magically aren't getting mind controlled. Because fucking reasons. Because no, actually they have a reason, and that reason is because they give Or tribute every month. Yeah, that's the reason. It's stupid. It's needless to say stupid. It's painful because you could change. There's so many things that you can do to just make the story so much better. Like Vile Lictor's story. If you know the Borderlands 4 story, tell me that what I said about Vile Lictor just doesn't instantaneously make him just so much more a better villain with more depth. Tell me that that's not true. Tell me that that's not the thing. And if he also said something, I am gonna break away from this body, I will free us, you know, that he has actually like good motives, but he's evil and you need to kill him. You know? Oh, by the way, all of this is also extremely stupid moral ambiguity to a degree, to half of the things. The Timekeeper simp is just stupid and there's no moral ambiguity. I would not be surprised if someone comes out and says, oh, that's supposed to be a Trump reference in some way. Vile Lictor is... Again, they did not give him a story, but the story is probably what I say. It probably just got deleted or retconned or something like that. But, you know, there is supposed to be that he is just misunderstood. The Ripper Queen is a prophet, and the Timekeeper is also misunderstood, by the way, because he's a gate guardian, and that was he didn't have a choice, and, you know, he was forced to do it. It doesn't fucking make a lot of sense. But yeah, that's in general the whole story of Borderlands 4. At no point does it make sense. At no point are you anything more than a lackey. At no point are... Well, again, there are some characters that are likable, but the whole world doesn't make any sense. The whole narrative doesn't make any sense. The bad guy doesn't make sense. The good guys they're just a bunch of group of people that like are, yay, we're an army, but you never see them. There's never any impact. There's never any strain on you. There's no sense of urgency at any point. And that's pretty much it. That's the Borderlands storyline. I don't know how to explain it better. I don't think it can. Ooh. Is this where we end? Are we not gonna hit 300k players with Borderlands 4? Because this should be about the time when it gets peaking. This should be the biggest peak. I don't dude, I don't think we are getting 300k, or it's gonna be extremely close. Maybe it's gonna be extremely close. But the story, again, Border slop for the story, boys. It is really bad. It is really bad. Anyway, bye. Check out tomorrow's video. It's gonna be about the characters. The characters are gonna be way better than this, because this is overall the problems, but the characters, they're gonna be better. Trust me. Bye.